most children during my era and day, Saturday morning was the highlight of my week. Everybody knows that the best cartoons came on Saturday mornings. And one of my ultimate favorite cartoons was G.I. Joe. And they always had a way of throwing in this slogan: knowing is half the battle. They were always talking about some war, some struggle that G.I. Joe had to deal with, and if they knew about it, knowing could get the battle over quicker than them not knowing anything at all. And so they would say, knowing is half the battle. Well, can I tell you that in this life, there's some things about life we just don't know. With all the education you have and all the degrees and with your pedigree, there's still some things you don't know. From Einstein to Walt Disney, there's still some things we don't know. We don't know how and we don't know why. For some things we don't know how and we don't know why. For a lot of things we don't know how and we don't know why. For example, you can dream when you sleep. It has not been explained yet. We don't know how it takes more genes to make a tomato than a human. We still don't know why. We don't know why or what is at the bottom of the ocean. We don't know what is there. We don't even know what's beyond the sun. We ought to ask a scientist, but we don't know. We really don't know why a cat purrs. I'm telling you, we don't know. And here in Louisiana, we don't even know why a mosquito can attack one person and another person can be sitting right next to them and go untouched. I just don't know. And even for my own life, I don't know, and I may not understand how the good die young and the bad keep on kicking. Lord have mercy, I just don't know. I don't know how we can go through, how I can go through some of the same stuff that killed others and I come out all right. It must be grace. I just don't know. And because I don't know, I have to trust what happens with God's help. And so I can say that I don't know, but with my limited knowledge, I can say this: I don't know about tomorrow or what tomorrow may bring, but I can say I know who holds tomorrow. I can't even understand how the Lord makes a way, but I know that somehow the Lord makes a way out of nowhere. Well, when we get to Romans here, the Apostle Paul is writing to the church to encourage them so that they could keep the faith and keep on pressing. They were struggling just a little bit, and he wanted to encourage their faith that don't get weary in well-doing, don't stop, don't give up. At this point, as the church collective, there are some things that we do know, and I need you to move forward with that. And so I say knowing is half the battle. It's amazing to me that God, excellent in all his ways, how he chooses adverse situations to display his glory. God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. And then we learn how God, and maybe it's happened in your life, how God increases you by decreasing you. And the way up is the way down. Amen. And the way out is the way through. And sometimes God's choice of people to use, God often looks for availability opposed to ability. Oh, somebody ought to say amen right there. It seems now that God has an affinity for folk that we disqualify, that we write off, that we count out, and God often has a soft spot for the underdog. In the choices of people that God uses, there's no shortages of gangsters, thugs, con artists, rejects, prostitutes, harlots, misfits, the ordinary and the extraordinary. Maybe you fit in somewhere right there. I'm just telling you this morning that God uses and chooses from from the uttermost to the guttermost, and God can definitely do something with you. And somebody ought to give God praise that if God can do all of that with all of them people, then God sure enough can use me. One thing I like about God is that God doesn't wait until we have it all together to use us. God doesn't wait until we're at our best or we've reached perfection and decide to use us. The omniscient and omnipresent and all-knowing God was thinking about you before you were created. And Jeremiah lets us know that before you were formed in your mother's womb, that God knew you. Meaning, before your mama met your daddy, God had you in his mind and deposited his purpose inside of you. You want to tell somebody, I have purpose today in my life. I may not have a lot of friends, but I have purpose. I may not have a lot of money, but I have purpose. I may not have good credit, but I have purpose. I may not have a mansion on a hill, but I have purpose. Somebody ought to shout and give God praise that no matter what you don't have, you do have something in God. You got purpose today, and purpose is God's ultimate goal for your life. It's God's plan. This is why we need to be in his will and intent about it. Reason why you exist is that you were created to do God's will and live his purpose. It's important for you to know your purpose because it's the area in your life that God wants to use for his glory. In other words, God wants to get out of you what God has placed in you through time and process. And we need to understand this because God created you. And when God created you, he put something in you that nobody else has. And Paul said this. He says, we have this treasure in earthen vessels to show the surpassing power belongs to God and not us. And through life, we must go on a treasure hunt. And through experience, discover the things that are hidden in us. God gets some glory when you can say who God is. But God already knows who God is. God gets some glory when you can say what God can do. But God already knows what he's able to do. But ultimate glory comes when you discover who you are in God and what's your purpose, and in God's plan, you work it out for your life. And unfortunately, some may never discover or fulfill the purpose of God for their life because oftentimes they mistake their own plans for God's purpose. See, some try to make their plans God's purpose, as if to tell God, I know what's best. As if to tell God, I know what's better for me than you. You can only hope that your plans will fit into his purpose, getting you what you want and giving God what he requires. That's it. And often we have to take our plans many times and say, God, this is my plan, please bless it. But here's the thing. If we stay in God's will and we're in God's purpose, you don't ever have to ask God to bless what's already his. God has already blessed the purpose in your life because God created it. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to waste time doing things that don't mean anything and not making a difference. I know that I must be in his purpose. You have to know your purpose. You do not want to waste precious time doing stuff that won't matter in the end. And we know that only what you do for Christ is going to last. So you have to make up your mind, Lord, help me to separate myself from anything that would hinder your purpose in my life. I have too much riding on this and too much is at stake. And believe it or not, it's too late in the game for me to do anything else. I don't have all eternity to fulfill his purpose. So I got to do what I can do with the time that I have left. word says, and we know that all things work together for the good. Here's the thing. This together denotes a connection of linking all things to work together for good. The together links the things that would work for good. The good, the bad, the cute, and the ugly. The bitter and the sweet, the ups and the downs. It all works together for good. And then you have to realize you have to give place to allow the good to work. And we're talking about things that connect together for good. They may not be related by nature, but the things can be relative in their purpose. The rubber on a wheel has no connection to the metal that makes the frame of a car. But when the manufacturer puts the rubber wheel on the frame of the car is designed to get you where you need to go. Lord have mercy. And there's some things in your life that God says, I know it doesn't look like they're going to work together, but if you trust me, it'll be your vehicle to get you to where you go. Do I have a church in here this morning? And somebody said, even though I might be riding in a hoopty style life, I'm still headed in the right direction. Result. It gets you to where you need to be. Amen. And God knows, this is what I like. I like this, and I've said this before. God knows how to get good out of the bad. Amen. And he knows how to get bad out of the good. Amen. He knows the right storms to put you through and the right temperature to put your fiery furnace on. He knows how much pressure to apply to get you to pray and break your will without breaking your spirit. Amen. Oh my God, I'll leave that right there. God knows how to link things together to work for you. God knows how to take a bad situation and turn it around for your good. And if you need a witness, then you ought to ask Sarah, who was old. She tried to do it on her own. She knew she wanted a child, but God said, I can still do it in your life and turn it around even though you're past the childbirthing age. And God did bring her a child. If you need another witness, you can ask Daniel, who was sitting in a lion's den, who thought that he was going to be their lunch and their dinner, but God made a way for him to come out of that den without being harmed. If you need one more witness, ask the prodigal son, who was sitting in a hog pen after he had spent all of his money, and he realized to himself that God can still provide grace, and he can come out of the situation he's in and trust God with taking him home to his father, and God turned that situation around. Do I have a witness in here that'll say in your own life that God knows how to take bad situations and turn it around for your good? Whatever you're going through, let God work it for you. Let God work it out for you. You may be struggling, but he can work it out for you. You may be crying, but let it work for you. You may be hurting, but let it work for you. You may be stuck, but let it work for you. You may be in pain, but let it work for you. You may be troubled on the inside of your mind. Let it work for you. You know, life is filled with schizophrenic situations and bipolar predicaments. And so you have to understand that God knows how to get you where you need to be. You must then embrace the process that he allows you to go through. Every situation has a process to it. You have to get used to it. You have to struggle with it and say, God, I guess this is not going anywhere. I'm going to have to sit with this for a while. It's a process. Then you get to the point where, okay, I'm okay with it. And just as soon as you get okay with it, God says, I'm going to do something else with it. And you say, Lord, I just got comfortable with that in the process. Now you're going to change this thing on me and do something else in it. And then God moves you to another place. And then you feel like you're in a foreign, in a strange land, or in a wilderness. Now you just came out of one process, going into another process, and then you say, God, does the process ever stop? God says, no, you're always going to be in process, because processing you is making you be who I want you to be. Yes. The process here then is the work. And you must work in the process while God is working on you through the process. And he's working things together, and you're part of that togetherness that he's working. Look, work is the activity involving mental or physical effort done in order to achieve a purpose or result. There's a purpose and a result that God is trying to get. When you first start working out, you're trying to shape up, developing your muscles, trying to mold yourself. When you first begin, it's painful. Might start off lifting 5 pounds. But if you keep on working out and you keep on lifting, 5 pounds will seem like nothing when you're able to lift 50. But when you get to 50, that's a new level for you to struggle through so you can get to the 75. Amen. That's how it works with our life and with God. God says, I take you through a process to get you over that, shape you and make you strong with that, so the next time you get to a 5-pound problem, you're already struggling with 50-pound problems. You won't have an issue dealing with the 5-pound problem because I've already trained you to make it through that. Knowing is half the battle. Knowing what God is doing is half the battle. Because when you know, can't nothing derail you from what you know. Amen. See, we all know that God can bless us, show us favor. God can promote us, can heal us. But we don't always realize that God can use our enemies to bless us. What you may think as a disappointment, or a person that walked away, or a friend that betrayed you, or a co-worker that's trying to make you look bad. You may not like that, but you couldn't reach your destiny without it. I'll say that again. You couldn't reach your destiny without those adverse situations. It's all a part of God's plan to get you to where you're supposed to be. I can use this example. David would have only been known as a shepherd boy if it wasn't for Goliath. But Goliath was strategically placed in David's path not to defeat him, but to promote him. Without Goliath, David would have never known that he could take down giants. Go ahead. Don't complain about your enemies. It may look like a setback, but really it's a setup for God to get you to your throne and where God wants you to be. And it may be a little rough, and it may be a little tight, and you may be a little push to your purpose, but trust God. It's not for everybody, and it's not for the faint of heart. The word says that it's only for them who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. You have to love God. And then you have to love God's people. Let me say this. Loving God is tricky. It's tricky because if we say we love God, but hate our brothers and our sisters around us, then the word says we're liars. And if we don't love someone, we have how can we love someone we have not seen, meaning God, and say that we love our neighbor who we have seen all the time with us? God says you can't do that. How can you say you love me and you've never seen me, but you can't love the one that you see every day? And so sometimes God will surround you. I know this is a fact. God will surround you with hellish folk. That's right. And then God will tell you to stay there and work with them. Jesus, help me. And while you think you're there to work the hell out of them, but really they're there to work the hell out of you. And God is working the devil out of you so you can love folk that seem unlovable. God Almighty. Somebody say, Lord, work the devil out of me. Work that hatred, that malice, that mischief out of me. And Jesus said, if you love my sheep. Knowing is half the battle. So I'll say this to you. Know who God is in your life based on what God has done in your life. Yes. And then you can proclaim what you know. And what you know may not be what somebody else knows. And what somebody else knows may not be what you know. But long as you know for yourself what God can do in your life, that's enough to get you where God wants you to be. I feel just a little Sam Cooke spirit. I don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know how much French or the science book or how the French I took. But I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. Is there anybody that can say that knowing is half the battle? And I know this much. Jesus loves me. But this I know, for the Bible, come on somebody, tells me so. I need you to know that knowing is half the battle, and you have to trust God with it. You have to trust God with knowing. We know that all things work together for the good of them that love God, and them who are called according to his purpose. Do you know your purpose in God? Do you love the Lord? You are definitely called by God. I need you to know, BBIC, that the preacher is not the only one called in here. Every one of you is called by God. You're called to do God's will and to do God's work. Yes. And I know that we don't see the value in being called, but when the word says that you're called, it means that you're chosen for his special purpose. And I made up in my mind that I'd rather be called than be Bill Gates. I'd rather be called than to be Barack Obama. I'd rather be called than to be LeBron James. I'd rather be called than to be Drew Brees. Is there anybody here that says, I'd rather be called than be Beyonce? I'd rather be called than be Halle Berry. I'd rather be called for God's purpose, because I know in the end that's the only thing that will last is what I do for Christ. I know I'm called for a purpose, and I can trust God with what I know, and knowing is half the battle. So what are you telling me, preacher? I'm telling you that there's stuff you don't have to fight if you just know. Good God Almighty. There's battles you don't have to be in. All you have to do is know, and God will fight your battle. What you mean, just know. Just know in your mind that God is able. Just know in your mind that God will make a way. Just know in your mind that God will protect you. Just know in your mind that God will take care of you. Just know in your mind that God will cover you. Just know in your mind that God will keep you. Knowing is half the battle. And somebody said, because I know, I see the troops of army coming to fight on my behalf. It's the Lord Jesus on my side. Because knowing is half the battle. And you can't make me doubt it all, because I know too much about it. I know what I know, and what I know is that God is still able and God is still good. How I know? Because Governor Edwards is still our governor. How I know? Because the Lord is covering us as a city. How I know? Because God is providing for you. He woke you up this morning and started you on your way. You ought to go for what you know and thank him that knowing is half the battle. Look at you know it. He's a way maker and you know it. And there's nothing that can take you from knowing your God like you know it. You just have to know. There's some things that can't be taught. There's some things that you can't learn. There's some things you just have to experience to know for yourself. And get this, I would not want to have to know your experience firsthand to understand how you're blessed the way you are. I have enough experience knowing God for myself through what he brought me through to live with me for a lifetime. I can't deal with nobody else, but I will shout off your testimony of what you know about God. I will give God praise over what God did for you, because if God did that then God can do something now. Somebody ought to give him praise and say, I know without a doubt. Love him. You're called. Know your purpose. Everybody standing on your feet. As an